What is going on, everybody? We're here, back with a brand new episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last time around, we had just started connecting different fragments of bits and pieces of different people's memories together, such as why Irie became a doctor in the first place was because of his father gaining brain damage and becoming not himself. We witnessed the first supposed Oshiro-sama curse murder of the construction foreman. We also saw how the Hojos and the Samazaki's families became so angry at each other. We learned a lot. We learned a lot of different information last time. It really is cool how these fragments are kind of like filling in the blanks, like here and there, of all the information we got. Like, we know, like, what's basically happened, but like with these fragments we're able to fill those in, which is actually very cool. And also it's very cool to have like a giant puzzle pretty much of different connective tissue between these fragments. Someone had informed me, you guys have informed me, that there's actually a secret fragment after you beat this chapter, and so I'm going to do that once I beat this chapter, which is going to be probably 10 episodes from now, depending on how long it is. But enough blabbling, let's actually get into it. And the last thing we did was witness the murder of the construction site. So, let's see. The hospitalization of Sadako Hojo required the death of the construction site. I'm pretty sure we got this since... Yeah, because Sadako did pass out after witnessing her parents' death, and we did see the death of the site manager. So let's do this. Second sacrifice. Okay, here we go. Satoshi-kun is a good brother who takes great care of his sister. I feel like we're going to blast through this now since I've got all the information and now I understand how to use it. So he went to visit Sadako-chan straight after school and kept encouraging her to get better every day. Without even hearing Satoshi-kun's stories, it's obvious to me that Sadako-chan never had a good relationship with her step-parents, probably Irie. She especially didn't get along with her stepfather. Sadako-chan even called a child abuse hotline once. Not only that, her parents ended up dying in an accident, so she just wasn't able to withstand all that damage. Sadako-chan is still very young, so everything must have been horrible for her to go through. Fortunately, she has a wonderful brother. Emotional wounds are hard to heal, but nothing heals those wounds better than love from family members. I'm sure that one day Sadako-chan will be able to smile again. She's still in shock, but when she talks to Satoshi-kun, she smiles a little bit. Oshi from the police department keeps requesting to see her, but I think I need to protect her for just a little longer. Well, he's passionate about his job. I wish he'd be a touch more sensitive. If he reminds her of her parents' accident, her emotional wounds will start to open again. That's the one point I worry about with Sadako-chan. I heard someone knocking on the door. It was Takano-san. It doesn't work right, wearing a nurse's uniform like that. She's a licensed doctor, so she should wear a white coat and act like one. Maybe this is fun for her, but I think she might be insulting the real nurses. I didn't say anything, though.
Irie 先生、ちょっとよろしいですか？
ああ、はい。それではサトシ君、私は失礼します。
あ、はい。サトシ君、こんにちは。さとこちゃんと遊んであげててね。ずっと一人でいるからきっと寂しいと思うの。ね？
そんなことございませんわよ。
ではサトシ君、よろしくお願いします。
I got up and let Satoshi-kun take over.
ところで、何かありましたか？
ここではなんですので、所長室で。
Oh boy. Takano-san smiled meaningfully. He usually smiles bring happy feelings, but when it comes to Takano-san, that's rarely the case.
それは本当ですか？
ええ。簡易検査の結果、レベル3以上と思われる高い発症レベルの可能性が指摘されました。
Okay, so this is when they realize she has it.
彼女をさらに入院させ、より精度の高い検査を行う必要があります。結果待ちですが、私の見たところ、レベル4の可能性すらあり得るかと。
Takano-san's eyes sparkled in a weird way. There's a reason for that. For us, finding patients in the terminal stage is a valuable boon to our research. In fact, as a result of dissecting the murder suspect from last year, we've made great progress in our research. In other words, we finally managed to isolate the pathogen. We also discovered that when the host dies, the pathogen melts away within a few hours. Interesting. Once that happens, it's undetectable. Oh, okay. That's why we never found the pathogen when we performed autopsies. Our research made a lot of progress after that. What we found in this past year has easily surpassed what the late Dr. Takano found in decades. We're now studying the nature, the effect, and the symptoms of the pathogen, as well as treatments and vaccines. In other words, a living specimen who's at the terminal stage is a necessity for our research. However, we rarely find a patient who's gone that far, who's reached level 5. Himizawa syndrome once created huge numbers of L5 patients, but today it doesn't have such potency. Because of that, we have to secure L5 patients, or patients who are close to reaching L5 as quickly as possible. Sadako-chan possibly qualifies to be that next sacrifice. To keep this strange disease a secret, we can't let patients who may be at L5 go. We have to run more tests first, then we'll figure out what to do next. In any case, Sadako-chan seems so calm. Her behavior is nothing like the man from last year. Initial tests are in error sometimes. We'll have to wait for the results of more detailed tests to determine how serious her condition is.
わかりました。
経過観察のため入院ということにしましょう。スタッフの皆さんへの手配をお願いいたします。
That sounds like a formal answer, but if the results come back positive, that will be the green light for a dissection. I don't know Sadako-chan that well, but I've known her brother Satoshi-kun through the baseball team for a long time. How could I dissect the apple Satoshi-kun's eyes? I can feel scary images flashing in my head for the first time.
ご安心を。万事すでに手配させておりますわ。
She smiled as if telling me that the dissection is already being prepared for it too. Is it just her who's smiling? Am I smiling like her too? When I dissected that man last year, I did feel guilt beforehand. But once I started, it was like I was in paradise. All of the pieces of the puzzle that were left by the late Dr. Takano fell into place, and at the same time they didn't. How exciting it was. Knowing that we are the first ones to take the first steps to solve a mystery. That is. I don't even know how to explain this feeling to those who have never experienced it. There's no way to describe it with words. The only thing I can say is that even a year later, I still remember it vividly. So if the results show that Satoshi-kun's beloved sister is to be dissected, can I control myself? Can I stay calm? But that means I'm a failure of a human being. I know very well that the Hojo family was treated poorly by the villagers, and I know what Sadako-chan had to go through. Also, I know Satoshi-kun loves his sister, who is his own one and only blood relative. How can I dissect Sadako-chan using my research as an excuse? I didn't feel much guilt for the man from last year, but I feel unbearable guilt towards Sadako-chan. That means what I did last year was very sinful. I don't care if a stranger dies, But I don't want Sadako-chan to die. That's not right. All lives are equally precious. I try to convince myself that he was a violent murderer, but maybe he only became that way because he was at the terminal stage. I don't know anything about him before he became deranged. Maybe he was a model citizen who was worthy of respect. Unfortunately, he became ill and ended up doing what he did. Maybe he was a victim himself, just like my father. I know more about Himizawa syndrome than anybody. This disease makes people act in bizarre ways, without those people realizing it. So, when the people at the terminal stage do such strange and violent things, one should be sympathetic. I already knew that back when I decided to go down this path. I should have remembered it sooner, but I only did just now. I finally realized what sinful research I'm working on. Sadako Hojo's detailed test results came back. Okay, let me put the next to that. Where is it? Sadako's test results. Now we're gonna do this now rather than after. Oh, here we go. The results say L5. She's at the terminal stage of the terminal stage. It's actually a surprising result. In last year's case, the patient was extremely deranged. According to Takano-san's records, he complained about itching coming from the lymph nodes all over his body and wanted to claw at his throat, just as the way Dr. Takano mentioned. But Sadako-chan isn't displaying such symptoms. Even in the way Takano's data, throat clawing is said to be a characteristic symptom of terminal stage patients. However, not all patients experience that symptom. Besides, emotional expression is very different in each person. Even if it's the same emotion, one patient may express it rather violently and another may express it calmly. There's no way of knowing just by looking at a person. But Sadako-chan's detailed test results say that she's at the terminal stage of the terminal stage, L5. I think the reason why she's not showing any symptoms is because as a person, Sadako bottles things up inside of her, you know, because we've seen that before, like with her like trying to act everything's fine even after her uncle comes back to Himizawa. She bottles things up inside of her. She doesn't express it, you know, just like many people with their emotions, they just don't express it, they just bottle it up inside of them. And by God, does it claw away at them. And we see at the very end of how Sadako ends up with her bottling up all these emotions. And the Himizawa syndrome just makes it more extreme, you know. It heightens those emotions even to higher and higher degrees. In other words, she may be feeling what the man from last year was feeling. It's just that she isn't expressing that feeling in the same way the man was. Himizawa syndrome affects the frontal lobes of the brain. It simulates the most primitive of emotions, doubt, very strongly. As a result, terminal patients are trapped in delusions and paranoia and end up committing horrible crimes. Sadako-chan seems to show improvement when she's exchanging friendly words with Satoshi-kun, but there's a paranoia stirring inside of her that may put her in a deranged stage at any moment. I can't let her leave the clinic like this. However, if things go according to the manual, I will have to make a decision on her dissection. My decision will only be a formality. I can't actually refuse. Takano-san appears to be already working on a dissection schedule. That plan will then come to me. Would I feel the same way while dissecting Sadako-chan? Would I be able to experience that trance once again? No, the question is, can I fight the temptation? As I pretend to question myself, I'm letting Takano-san prepare things on her own. By doing so, am I passively agreeing to Sadako-chan's dissection? If possible, I want to save Sadako-chan. I don't want her to be a sacrifice for this research. I don't want to dissect her. Then what about the man from last year? Do I only care about the lives of the people I know? If I don't dissect her, do I let her live and leave the clinic? Do I simply wait for her to become deranged and commit a horrible crime? And then she'll end up here, just like the man from last year. And I'll end up dissecting her anyway. The man from last year was dissected alive and kept that way for several months. Oh my god. With his skull left open, he wasn't allowed to die for several months. He was kept alive just for our cool experiments. I don't want to do that to her. I don't know what to do. Even debating and agonizing over it is leading towards that consent to our dissection by elimination. God! These fragments are making Irie such a fascinating character. You know, I feel like Irie's character is about, like, what sacrifices do you make towards research? Towards understanding something? You know, throughout the course of history, humans have done horrible things in order to find stuff out. I mean, there's a reason why we know all of the, you know, organs inside of us. Sure, it was from dead bodies and not actual, like, living people, but it's like, what's the line? Do you go to your morality as a person, or do you go for the research that could benefit, you know, humanity? It's interesting. It's interesting. A live specimen for research is required. Do we already have that? Let me see. L5 patient's dissection is required. A queen carrier must be... Okay, I think patient's dissection. I think we already got that, since it was mentioned in there that the guy was dissected. So we got that, I think. Let's see here. Queen carrier must refuse. Execution order. Truth. Kidnapping operation. A bat to beat her to death. No. Prior consent for the collection of sword. Nope. Death. No. Oh! Yep, we can do this. The old guy. What is this? Oh. Is it... Are we going to see how Oshi feels after the death of his friend? I don't know what to say. I want to say something, but I can't think of the right words. I can only sigh.
Ah, Oi-san. 探したんすよ。課長から手配写真の。
静かにせい。ここは騒ぐ部屋ではないぞ。
The Kumagai barged into the room. The old coroner quickly snapped back at him.
すみません。ですね。課長が容疑者の手配写真について。
ああ、それ小宮山君に相談してくれませんかね。ちょいと私じい様と話がありまして。すぐに上がりますと上に言っといてください。
あ、わかりました。
Kumagai ran out of the autopsy room with the same haste he entered in.
賑やかな男だの。
Also, I think we, from the last fragment, we found out why, Irie was kind of not in the greatest terms with Oshi's, because Oshi wanted to question Sadako more, because he wants to know the death of his friend, you know? All these people are fucking hurt. All these people in this town are fucking hurt. Everyone's fucked up. Hey, that's just true for the real world. We're all fucked up. And on the inside. Yeah.
おやさんだったらやかましいって言ってげんこつの一つも食らわしてるところです。
お前さんも少し上に戻った方がいいぞい。ここの空気は慣れんやつには合わん。
そうですね。あんまりサボってると私もげんこつを食らっちまいそうです。
獅子骨界隈じゃチンピラも避けて通るお前さんを相撲の切り方が悪いとげんこつを食らわせてきたのは後にも先にもこいつだけだったのう。
容赦のない人だったな。本当の親父よりげんこつもらった気がしますよ。
本当も嘘もないわい。
Oh.
お前さんが本当の親父だと信じてたならこいつも本当の親父だ。
My real father passed away in Nagiota. He was unlucky. If he wasn't given the order to move to a plant in Nagiota, he wouldn't have died in an air raid. If he could have waited out another half a year or so, then the war would have been over. I was sad, of course, but I was grown up enough by then that I didn't cry into the ground like my mother did. But people feel sadness in different ways. For some people, it comes all at once as an overwhelming wave, but others feel sadness gradually, over a long period of time. I think I was the latter. When he was alive, I only thought of him as annoying. In my mind, I even cursed him with questions about why he avoided the draft. And I thought my feelings towards him would always be the same. Then the war ended. As I saw families and friends being reunited with joy as they came home from the front, it finally happened. I grieved for my father's death. Japan was filled with people who were sad and full of despair. I knew I wasn't the only one whose life ended up that way. But I remember I was very, very heartbroken. After the war, the nation completely changed. As a policeman, the environment I worked in went through sudden changes too. In order to forget my sorrow, the only thing I could do was devote myself to my work.
当時、私はいろんな取り締まりをやらされてましたね。食料とか生活必需品を非合法な手段で買い込む人たちをよく検挙したもんです。そりゃあもうゾロゾロ引っかかりましたっけ。僕らのあたりは物が豊かで、そういった物を手に入れるのにかなり都合が良かったそうなんですよ。
After the war, Japan faced a chronic shortage in food supply. To those ends, the nation instituted a food rationing program by signing the Food Control Act. But the rations the government provided weren't even close to being enough to feed families. Therefore, people had no choice other than buying food and supplies on the black market. The government hardly had enough food for rations, but there were somehow plenty in the black market. The dealers there sold it out at outrageous prices, and some of them became quite wealthy. The Sozaki family made their money through the black market, but that's another story. The government didn't bother arresting these dealers, for with their money they were able to buy off the top members of the police department. Instead, they decided to go after the people buying the goods, and even confiscated the rice they bought by selling everything they owned. Yeah, I remember that. Wasn't there a prosecutor who starved himself to death? Yeah, there was. The prosecutor who vowed not to eat illegal rice starved to death. Was it in 1947? That was horrible. He, a public prosecutor, proved it himself that people couldn't survive by adhering to the wall. And the prosecutor had grown tired of the government charging people with doing whatever they could to survive. And he proclaimed that he was never going to buy black market rice again. In 1947, he starved to death when he was only in his mid-30s. Jeez. The law prohibited people from buying black market rice. But that was the only way to survive. In that case, was the Food Control Act a bad law itself? The death of the prosecutor was seen as a desperate message to the government about the unjustness of that law. We rounded up people with bags of rice and lined them up at the temporary inspection point next to the station. It was like a military tribunal. We inspected their bags and confiscated everything that they bought at the black market.
ご婦人方はみんな泣かれるんですよ。
They sold everything they owned to buy the rice. They pleaded that if we confiscated the rice, how would they feed their starving children?
道理だな。
Yet they forbade you from going after the sellers, so it was absolutely unfair from the view of the people. Everyone was on edge. If they heard a police inspection was set up at the next station, they'd jump off the train and run. We were aware of these people, so we set up several officers near jump-off spots in order to capture them. I remember chasing after women carrying several kilos of rice on them. That was when I first met the old man.
いやー、驚きましたよ。私の親父にね、あまりにもそっくりだったんですよ。私はね、てっきり死んだと思っていた親父が帰ってきてくれたんじゃないかなって本気で思いましたよ。
I was chasing a man who was running away from the inspection point. There was no way for him to run with a heavy bag of rice on him. So either he'd get arrested with the illegal rice, or escape by ditching the rice that he bought by selling all of his belongings. In other words, if a person is being chased by the police, that person can't provide his family any rice to eat. Of course, I felt guilty about that. I knew people had to buy their rice to survive. So we had a tactic agreement to let those who ditched the rice and ran get away. So I always fought the same thing as I chased them. Police floated away. I didn't want to catch him, because I didn't want to hear him crying and pleading in distress. It was then that the old man showed up. He looked exactly like my dead father. I was dumbfounded. Then all of a sudden he punched me in the head. If a father disciplines you, as a child you lower your head in apology. I was so happy to see my father alive that I couldn't hold my joy in. The old man said, "Let him go." When I heard his voice, I realized he wasn't my father, so I thought I'd arrest him for assaulting a policeman. But a young man like me, who barely grown any hairs yet, was no match for an older man used to fighting.
いや、たっぷり説教をもらいましたよ。
Wow, so the foreman wasn't just a friend to Oshi, but a father figure? That just adds more fire to this. No wonder Oshi wants to fucking find out the truth about the murders. Because he had to go through the tragedy of reliving his father's death again. Shit, man.
大通りの真ん中でぶちのめされた挙句に普通に考えたらそんなのに耳なんか傾けないですよね。でもあの時の私はどうかしてたんです。どうしてもおやっさんが親父に見えちゃって、おとなしく言うことに耳を傾けることしかできなかったんです。
まあそこで小づいただけじゃなく、男の器量もきっちりと見せられたのがこいつの大したところだったの。今時じゃすっかり珍しくなっちまった古き良き時代の生き残りじゃった。
Despite my age, I still needed a father. I needed someone to look up to, and to show me what makes a man a man. When I think about it, I really did have two fathers. The old man was a father, a brother, and my best friend. But now here he lies with his head, body, arms, and legs all dismembered, and his right arm hasn't been found. He taught me how to be a man, how to enjoy alcohol, how to play mahjong, and with that right arm he gave me a good beating when I did something wrong. But that right arm is still missing.
星の目星は
ねえ、もちろんついています。おやつさんの右腕ももちろん取り返しますし、この金もきっちり返します。
They're running Himizawa from the shadows and inciting this collective crime they call the damn protest, the Sonozaki family. I declare war within myself. I already know who my enemy is. Wow. That just added more fire to more motivation for why Oshi wants to get to the truth so damn bad. It wasn't just because the foreman was just a friend. He was a goddamn father figure to him. That's... shit, man. I really like these fragments. I really do. They just add more and more to these characters that are already well fleshed out, in my opinion. Better than, you know, some stories I've seen. But, I think that one, Declaration of War. There we go. Let me put an X on that. Was there anything else there? I don't think there is anything else there that I saw. No. Yeah, no. Okay. So, a Declaration of War from Oshi. We can't do any of these yet. Battle of Wine. No. Sako's Shop Treat. Shinto Police. We don't know if that. This one we can do. Lock Candy is a treat and Hojo's detailed test result. I think. Let me save real quick. Now, I know someone told me that, like, I don't need to, like, get everything, you know, right. We can still go back to the broken fragments, but... just in case, I got the option. A group of boys are playing baseball under the powerful sun. The sound of the cicadas makes the heat stand out even more, but to those boys, it's just another kind of cheering from the crowds. Of course, they go through training exercises to build stamina, but the boys don't actually like such routine activities. What they look forward to the most is the free game after practice. The school in Himizawa is actually borrowed from the forestry service. The schoolyard is made of gravel, so it's not very appropriate for playing sports on. Compared to that, the grounds at the school in Okayama are properly maintained for athletic activities, so the kids grow even more energetic when they come here. Kids from Himizawa really don't care if the ground is made of gravel or not. The other instructor is watching the game, so I decided to go get some drinks for the team.
監督、どこへ行くんですか？
皆さんにジュースを買ってこようと思いまして。もしよかったら、サトシ君も手伝ってくださるととても助かるのですが。
はい。お手伝いします。
Satoshi-kun decided to come along with me. Sometimes kids don't like what grown-ups choose, so I'm glad he agreed to help. Satoshi-kun and I got in the car and headed to the grocery store nearby.
監督、聡子の具合はどうなんですか？
ええ、経過は良好ですよ。本当にゆっくりとですが、聡子ちゃんの心の傷も癒えてきています。もう少しだけ安静にしてあげた方がいいでしょう。
It's natural for Satoshi-kun to be worried. Sadako-chan has been in the hospital for over 2 weeks. Of course, he doesn't know his sister has Himizawa syndrome. Not only that, she's almost at L5. She could become deranged at any moment. He believes she's depressed because of the shock of their parents' accident. He came to the clinic every day to cheer his sister up. But Sadako-chan has become emotionally unstable and was showing some dangerous symptoms, so we called off the visits. Was there something about Satoshi? Okay, no. In fact, Sadako-chan is not doing so well. L5, the stage Sadako-chan is at, is a very abnormal one. The man from last year, who was at the same stage, was acting so abnormal that even a drug addict in his final stages would have turned and ran. There's no guarantee Sadako-chan won't fall into the same condition. When we performed the autopsy on that man last year, we learned the true identity of the syndrome and gained a great understanding of its mechanisms. We even discovered some important facts that may lead to the development of a cure. However, we have yet to find a method of actually curing the disease. So if Sadako-chan becomes unrecoverable, we may have to dissect her, just like we did the man from last year. How can I tell Satoshi-kun about his sister's situation? All I can do is make vague comments and lie to him that she's recovering. What if she becomes much worse? That would make me an unforgivable liar. A tiny bit of consciousness that remains in me hurts.
もし監督の診療所のご迷惑でなければ、もうしばらく入院させてもらった方がいいかもしれません。
それはどういう意味ですか？
I thought he wanted her to come home as soon as possible, so I'm a little surprised.
いえ、実は聡子、あまりおばさん一家とも馴染めていないんです。
聡子ちゃんがご両親とあまり良い関係ではなかったと聞いていましたが、新しく預けられたおばさん夫婦ともなのですか？
聡子は大人にはあまり心を開かないので。
Satoshi-kun has told me about their family background. Their mother's constant remarriages wounded her children deeply. Satoshi-kun was able to overcome it, but Sadako was just too young to be able to do that. That left her traumatized. She now has the tendency to distrust or dislike guardians who aren't related to her. Actually, nobody would like a guardian who isn't related to them. It's not just Sadako-chan. But usually people try to deal with that, even if they don't like it. I guess Sadako-chan's not capable of that.
おじさんはあまり家に帰ってこないし、いても寝てるかテレビを見てるかなのでそんなに問題はないんですが、おばさんがものすごく聡子に絡むんです。
どうしてそんなに嫌われてしまったんでしょうね。
I can guess why. Sadako-chan's parents were dam proponents, and because of that, the villagers considered the aunt and uncle part of the Hojo family and ostracized them as such. Moreover, they passed away suddenly in an accident and left 2 children behind, so I guess there would be more hate there than gratitude. She had been obedient like Satoshi-kun, everything would have been fine. But Sadako-chan can't be that way. She shows that in her attitude and expressions, which leads to her and her aunt having a big fight.
僕もおばさんに聡子の事情を説明してはいるのですが、なかなか分かってもらえなくて。
その度に聡子ちゃんをかばってあげるサトシ君はお兄さんの鏡だと思いますよ。今や聡子ちゃんにとって唯一の肉親はサトシ君だけなのかもしれませんからね。
そうですね。そんな気がしてます。
Satoshi-kun said with a slight hint of a sigh. He doesn't say it, but it seems Satoshi-kun has grown tired of having to cover for Sadako-chan every time she and her aunt fight. He's a good person, as well as a good big brother, so I'm sure he'll do anything to cover for his sister. But that's a very exhausting thing to keep doing forever. Satoshi-kun was already doing that when their parents were alive. And eventually his mental equilibrium couldn't handle the strain. He grew sick and he visited my clinic. I thought his circumstances might have improved after their initial cause, his parents were gone. But it seems things were even worse than before.
わかりました。そんな状況で聡子ちゃんを退院させたら、また心の症状がぶり返してしまうかもしれませんね。入院費のことは気にしないでください。聡子ちゃんが本当の意味で回復するまで、私が責任を持ってお預かりします。
While trying to pretend I'm listening to his request, I feel a little disgusted with myself for making such selfish excuses. I'll make sure. Takano-san is working on a dissection plan as we speak.
お願いできると僕も少しだけ助かります。
はい。
いえ、聡子がもうしばらく入院しててくれたら、僕もその分気が楽だなって思っただけです。
それはどういう意味ですか？
聡子が帰ってきたら、どうせまたおばと喧嘩をするだろうと思います。そうしたらまた喧嘩や怒鳴り声ばかりの日になって、 僕もそれに巻き込まれるのかなって思うと、聡子はずっと入院しててくれるのが一番僕にとって気楽なことなんじゃないかって、そう思ってしまう自分がいて嫌になります。
サトシ君。
Jeez. Satoshi-kun is a great big brother who always sticks up for his little sister. But that doesn't mean he doesn't feel burdened.
そんなことを考えてしまうなんて、僕はなんて悪い兄なんだろうって思います。そうだと思えば思うほど自分が嫌になって。
Satoshi-kun said, sniffling once. His expression was one of anguish, as if truly feeling his own sin. His desire to be a model big brother is putting himself under greater pressure. I feel bad for Sadako-chan, but I also feel bad for Satoshi-kun in a different way. As someone who knows the both of them well, I feel that I must be their ally, since they don't have anyone else who cares about them. Wow. It's... God, it's so... It's so fucking tragic, man. That's all I can say. It's so... Oh my god, Ryuku 07, you fucking bitch. Oh my god, that... It's just so sad of Satoshi. He wants to protect his sister, but it you know... It gets tiring. It tires you out. It makes you so goddamn tired, and he hates feeling that way because it makes him feel like a horrible person, a horrible big brother. It's like, fuck, man. God, fuck. Okay, which one was that? Irie's decision. Satoshi Hojo's sister must refuse his visit at the clinic. Was that his refusing of the clinic? I mean, he didn't outright say it, but I'm gonna put that as an X. Was there another thing? I don't think there's another thing, but I'm gonna guess it's the refuse his visit at the clinic. Satoshi Hojo's sister must refuse his visit. Okay, maybe not that one. Which one was that? Was that Irie's decision? No, it wouldn't be Irie's decision. Alright? I actually don't know which one that could have been. Okay. Okay, footsteps, awareness of his sins. No, weaken Sadako's shopping Shinto priest. Let's see here. New wind, Riku's family. Serious death of food couple, tea set, red capsule. This one we can't do. Yeah, game board. Okay, let's see here. Satoshi's Kyosuke Irie's decision is required. Was that his decision? I mean, I don't think it was his. It's not the discontinuation. The third year's curse now. Queen Carrie must participate. A live specimen for research. A live specimen for research. Do we already have that? With the, manager? I feel like we do have that. I think. Maybe. So, I'm going to mark that last one as Irie's decision for right now. But let me see if the first sacrifice works. Because it sounds like we got that one. Live specimen for research. Okay, let's see. Do we got it? Yes, we do. Okay, cool. I was half asleep, so I didn't even hear the phone ringing nearby. After a while, I finally realized the phone was ringing, and a ringing phone means there's some kind of emergency. It's 2 in the morning. Who would even call me at this time of night?
もしもし、入江です。
お休みのところ申し訳ございませんわ、入江所長。
It's Takano-san. She's never called me for a personal reason. And the institute she's running just below me, so she's basically responsible for running it. So for her to call me this way tonight, it must be an emergency.
遅くなりました。末期患者が出たというのは本当ですか？
ええ、生きた検体が欲しいと思っていたら本当に運よく。
This must be right after the damn murder. I initially thought that she abducted someone. The man had already been moved to the research area in the clinic's basement. Having been tied down to the examination table, he's struggling against his restraints, but more as though he's deranged than actually resisting. I can't even understand what he's saying. He sounds angry, sorrowful, and like a child throwing a tantrum all at once. It's obvious that he's not in the right state of mind.
とにかく麻酔で眠らせましょう。このままでは自分の舌を飲み込んで窒息しかねません。
もう少し状態を観察したかったのですけれど、仕方ありませんわね。
One of the staff with a white gown got the anesthesia ready. Even a normal person would struggle to escape a restraining table in this suspicious room. But this man's behavior is at an abnormal level. Shiro Okonogi-san and his friends from the Mountain Dogs are the ones who captured him. Capturing a man in his state of mind couldn't have been an easy task. According to Takano, she ran into this patient on her way home from the clinic by accident. She brought him back here, tested him, and the result came back positive. Of course, I have no intention of just believing what she's telling me. But there's no question that this man is at the terminal stage, and a live specimen is exactly what we need to research the syndrome.
一体この男は何者です？
あの男が持っていた新聞の包み、中に何が入っていたと思います？
これは何です？
The right arm. There's something wrapped in a bloody newspaper on a tray nearby. Looking at the blood-drenched paper, I can only imagine there's something gruesome inside of it. Yet Takano-san looked like she wanted to surprise me with something interesting.
これはひどい。
It's a bloody right arm. The man on the table still has his. This right arm doesn't belong to him. So, who does it belong to? I'm used to looking at things like this as a doctor, but the horrible cross-section makes me want to look away. It wasn't done according to a medically acceptable method, that's for sure. It was obviously done out of cruelty.
状況から考えて、この男が切り取ったものと考えていいでしょうね。
You know what's also fucked up? You know, just one of the many fucked up things that Takano's done. She never returned the arm. The arm's, like, they might have still just, like, thrown it into acid or whatever after this. But they never did return Oshi's friend's father figure's arm back. It's just another, it's really little in the terms, you know, of the great big picture, but still, it's fucked up. Didn't even have the decency to bring back the arm.
つまり彼は近隣で起こった何らかの事件の犯人ということですね。
At that point, there was no way of knowing who the right arm belonged to. But the next morning, the dismemberment murder of the damn construction site director was reported. They mentioned that his right arm was still missing, so we weren't who the arm belonged to.
この男、前科者だそうで、しかもその上、執行猶予期間中だとか。にもかかわらず、また罪を犯してしまうなんて。それで、殺人の発覚を恐れて、遺体を隠そうと思ったのでしょうね。
状況にもよるでしょうが、懲役数年で済むというものではなさそうですね。入江所長もこんな社会のクズが相手なら
解剖に躊躇はないのでは？
社会のクズがさらに犯罪を重ね、さらにその上ひなみ沢症候群で凶暴化したのか、それとも前科を食いる善良な小市民がひなみ沢症候群で凶暴化して罪を犯したのか、どちらかは分かりません。前者ならともかく後者ならば彼には何の罪もありませんよ。
That's why Higurashi syndrome is so terrifying. You can't tell if the syndrome is the cause of the crime or if it's simply a problem of human nature. But what causes the defect of human nature in the first place? That was precisely Irie's area of research. Hate the crime, not the criminal. Can criminals only be corrected by punishing them with imprisonment? If a person commits a crime because of a mental disorder, but then gets treatment, he is corrected. In other words, there are no crimes in this world, only patients awaiting treatment without anyone else being able to understand them. In medieval times, patients with mental disorders were said to be possessed by demons and they were confined or killed. Centuries after, they were finally acknowledged as mentally ill people who needed treatment. Perception can change with time. Even if they are called criminals now, maybe after several centuries, those criminals will be acknowledged as patients who are entitled to appropriate treatment. Explaining crimes through illness instead of malice. That's my wife's work. Higurashi syndrome is a strange disease that can support my theory. Solving its mysteries is extremely important to me. To solve those mysteries, I need a medical sacrifice. It's an extremely simple thing to do, but there's no way to unravel this without it. The Irie Institute was authorized to take such drastic measures if necessary. That's why I was asked about it so many times when I accepted the position of director. And finally, the opportunity is here. This will be the first step of our research on this strange disease. But even now, I am a little hesitant. I've opened up human bodies in many surgeries. What I'll be doing on this man is something very similar. But there's also something that's very different. What I did before was part of treatment. I did it to save the patients' lives. I did it so the patients could have a better future. But what I'm trying to do here isn't treatment. He will die at the end of it. His death will be far from humane. I'm going to violate nature and force him to stay alive while I open up his living brain.
Irie 所長、聞いてらっしゃいます？
ああ、すみません。もう一度お願いします。
解剖計画書を提出し、東京に応援を要請した方が良いかと思います。何しろ、単に生きてるだけでなく、末期症状を起こしている大変貴重な検体ですもの。慎重な解剖が求められますわね。
そうですね。おっしゃる通りです。そのようにしましょう。
それまでに数日の猶予があると思います。そこで麻酔を解いていくつかの反応実験をしてみたいのですが。
危険ではありませんか？たとえ拘束を解かなくても何が起こるか分かりませんよ。
ようやく手に入った検体なんですもの。ただ脳を覗くだけじゃもったいないですわ。
Takano-san's unusual cheerfulness made me feel odd. Maybe your reaction is normal. Maybe I am the one who's not reacting normally in this situation. I'm here only for the research, so I should be excited to have the opportunity to perform our first live dissection, but I'm still hesitant. How can I call myself a researcher? Researchers of the past were brave enough to cross the line, and that's how they accomplished many things. I've seen many brains, I've operated on them. I've lost some patients too, but I never thought anything of it because I knew I did the right thing. Even when my hard work was denied afterwards. If it pained me to think of that, then I just needed to advance the field of medicine to ensure their deaths weren't wasted. That's the true form of those advancing the field of medicine. Yet, why was my heart tormented so much just by changing the name from treatment to dissection? Does it mean I'm not man enough to emulate those great men of the past who opened doors to new medicine? That I don't have the power to develop new advances myself?
あら、どうなさいましたの、所長。お休みのところを無理に起こしてしまったので、ご気分が優れませんのかしら。
Takano is pretending to be concerned about me, but she knows. She knows I'm still hesitating, and she's telling me that I should be ashamed as a researcher for feeling that way. I shook my head to clear it of sleepiness. Remember the resolve that brought me here to this day. I already have blood on my hands. But if I stop now, their lives will be wasted. Those who shed their blood can only rest in peace once they become the cornerstones of great research. I shook my head once more and reminded myself that I'm a researcher.
いえ、考え事をしていただけです。高野さんは東京との調整をお願いいたします。日程が決まりましたら教えてください。
ええ、了解いたしましたわ。眠気も吹っ飛んでしまいますわね。
The least I can do is my best, so his life won't be wasted. If he bleeds, I can't waste even a drop of his blood. After scolding my staff for their indiscretion of discussing that dissection with such excitement, I returned to my office. Jeez. Irie is such an interesting character. It's so funny. It's so funny how Ryoku07 can make a character who literally has done lobotomies and live dissections and make us understand where he's coming from. You know? Irie is such an interesting fucking character, dude. God. Okay, that for sure was the L5 patient dissection. 100%. Also, we can cross off a live specimen for research. Was there anything else there? Mysterious deaths, forgiveness of minor sins, conflict, contacting draft for emergency. I don't think there is anything else. No. Discontinuation. Results. Okay, here I am. So what can we do? Instructions for the kidnapping operation of the minister's grandson are required. Was that discussed here? I mean, they didn't mention it outright, but they like implied it. So it could be this one. Is there anything else that we can do? Kasumi? No. Oppression. Notice of leave. Awareness of his sins is required. Can't do that one. Can't do this one. Can't do that one. Wait. No. For a crumple. Wait, a capsule. No. Okay, let's try this one. Requesting assistance from a queen. Bingo. Okay, so what was the one that I was unsure about? Okay, so yeah. Okay, so it must have been. Yeah, it must have been. Wait, they didn't. The reason why I was so like iffy on that one is because they didn't really. They implied it, but they didn't really outright say it. So you know. All right, it's very. I like it though. I like it. You know, adds more challenge to this puzzle. That very night, the head of the Furude family, the priest, gathered his wife and Rika together for a family meeting. In Imazawa, it's tradition for the three families to gather and discuss the village's issues. So it was hardly unusual for big families like the Sonozaki family and the Kamiroshi family to have meetings beforehand to sort out opinions among themselves. However, the Furude family had lost its branch family, so there were only 3 of them left. So until that day, they had never had a family meeting at all.
どうしたんですか、改まって。 ひょっとしてダムに関わるお話ですか？
The dam was the most important issue in the village at the moment. The wife naturally assumed the priest wanted to talk about the dam. For him to gather all of them together like that must be a huge decision he had to make. Perhaps he was going to talk about joining the pro-evacuation camp.
いや、ダムの話ではない。だが、この村に関わる、いや、この村のご先祖様たちにも関わる、とても大事な問題だ。
The Furude family had served in the priesthood of Oshiro-sama, the guardian deity of the village for generations. So for him, the head of the family, to start out that way, it must be something extremely important. Yet he said it wasn't about the dam, so what could he have wanted to talk about?
私は入り婿だ。だから、フルデ家の本当の血を受け継ぐお前とリカにはよく聞いてほしい。
The true blood.
お前たちは普通の人間ではないのだ。
僕はお社様の生まれ変わりなのですよ。
リカ、そういうのは口にしてはいけません。あなた、そういう話はリカのいないところでしましょう。それでなくっても集会所のお年寄りたちがリカに妙なことばかり吹き込んで。
そのお社様の生まれ変わりというのがどうも本当らしいのだ。
は？
少し長い話になる。二人ともしばらく黙って私の話を聞きなさい。
The wife had a dumbfounded expression on her face, not knowing what he was going to say, but Wiko was completely relaxed, wearing her usual carefree expression. The priest started to talk after his wife calmed down.
この村には大昔からある病気があるのだ。
Okay, so Wika's dad did find out about the syndrome. Interesting.
それはこの地にだけある特別な病気、フード病というものらしい。それにはこの村に住む者が全員かかっている。
Which may be one of the reasons why he was targeted, and maybe the reason why the mountain dogs killed him.
今この村に住んでいる者だけではない。大昔から住んでいたご先祖様たちもみんなずっとこの病気にかかってきたのだ。
そんな。だって私たちはみんな普通に生活していますよ。この村だけの病気なんて聞いたこともない。
落ち着きなさい。その病気はな、この村にいる限り何も問題はないのだ。だがこの村を出て遠くの地へ行くと発病してしまう。わかるか？
So how did Rika's dad get this information?
わかるわけないでしょ。何のことだかさっぱり。
お社様のたたりと同じなのです。
Rika said it so calmly while her mother became frustrated.
そうだ。この村から離れるとたたりがあるのと同じなのだ。つまりお社様のたたりだとご先祖様たちが代々恐れてきたのはこの村だけにしかないフード病のせいだったのだ。
そんなことあるわけないです。だって私たちだって時には村を離れることもあるじゃないですか。
Man, you could really twist the journal plot of Higurashi into like it was an evil game. I'm just realizing now.
村の人だって仕事で遠くへ出かける人だっているし、海外に出かける人だって。
うん。それは長い時間を経て病気が徐々に弱まってきたかららしい。だからこのままさらに長い時間をかければ消えてなくなってしまうものだったのだ。だがそれがダム戦争のせいでおかしくなったらしい。ダム戦争で今村中が熱に浮かされたように興奮している状態にあるのはみんなも分かっているだろう。そういう興奮状態や情緒不安定な状態はこの病気を悪化させてしまうらしいのだ。
よく話がわかりませんけど、つまり この大昔からタタリだと呼んできたものはすべてその病気の仕業だとおっしゃるんですね。
そうだ。お社様の作った決まりは全てこの病気から村人を守るための決まりだったのだ。
そんな、それじゃお社様は神様ではなく病気が正体なんですか？そんなことフルデ家代々のご先祖様たちに説明できますか？
落ち着きなさい。お社様の信仰は変わらない。お社様がひなみ沢を見守ってくださることに何の変わりもない。お社様のたたりを再現する病気がこの村には大昔からあったということ、それだけなんだ。
そんなのは認められません。そんなこと亡くなった先代や先々代に説明できますか？
I mean, yeah, you can't just say to a very religious person, like, your god is just a disease.
フルデ家数百年の伝統に対する、いえ、お社様に対する冒涜です。そんなことをあなたに吹き込んだのは誰ですか？失礼極まりない。大地、そんな変な病気が実在するという証拠があるんですか？
ある。
それはどんな？誰が？
厚生省と国立感染症予防研究所の方からだ。
Really?
病原体もすでに特定され、現在治療方法などを研究している最中だという。
Okay, so this is after the murder of the foreman.
先週、実際にその資料や標本などを見せてもらった。厚生省の方はこの病気をひなみ沢症候群と呼んでいるらしい。
そんな。
ひなみ沢症候群は普通に生活している分には何も影響のない無害なものらしい。だがひなみ沢を遠く離れたり、精神や情緒が不安定になったりすると発病しやすくなるという。発病すると妄想などに取りつかれ、最悪の場合異常行動に出ることもあるらしい。
I was just thinking, like, why would the Ministry of Health, like, only tell Rika's dad? But then I remembered it's like her dad, like, married in from the outside, so he isn't. Well, no, he's well, I'm pretty sure he is an outsider. I don't think he does come from Himizawa. I mean, I don't think it's ever been stated he doesn't come from Himizawa, but from, like, all the implications, it sounds like he isn't. Plus, it would make sense if the ministry told him, because he's an outsider. He would believe them more likely.
この病気は戦争中に発見されたんだそうだ。戦地でひなみ沢の兵隊だけ異常な病気を起こすことがあるのに、偉い学者の先生が気がついて研究がずっと進められてきたんだという。その辺の話はだいぶ詳しくしてもらったんだが、難しい内容だったので私の口からはこれ以上うまく説明できん。もし私の説明では納得できんというなら、お前も直接話を聞いてみればいい。私だって最初は何をバカなことを、お社様を冒涜する気かと憤慨していたのだから。その病気を研究するために入江診療所が作られたというんだ。あそこは表向きはただの診療所ということになっているが、実際は病気を調べるための隠し研究所らしい。
秘密で研究しているなんてうさんくさいじゃないですか。それも厚生省がやっていることなら堂々とやればいいじゃないですか。
いや、そうはいかんらしい。この病気の実態を把握しないまま存在するという事実だけが不十分な知識で広まってしまったら、病気を持っている人たちはもちろん無関係の人々も勘違いした差別を受けることになる。ひなみ沢の人間は皆怪しげな病気にかかっていて、そのせいでとんでもないことをするかもしれないなどという噂が日本中に知れ渡ったら大変だ。厚生省もそのことを心配していて、 この病気については厳重に伏せた上で治療を目指すらしい。勘違いするな。私たちを見せ物にするというんじゃないぞ。この病気を根絶させ、この村を病気から解放しようとしているのだ。自給自足ができていた大昔ならともかく、現代では村から一歩も出ずに生活など成り立たん。
The thing that confuses me the most is why Takano destroyed all that research pretty much in the end. She pretty much destroyed it. She killed Tomiki. She murdered Irie. Pretty much destroyed all their research. For what reason did she do that? Still, you know, live dissection is pretty fucked up. Human experimentation is fucked up. But it would be at least a tiny bit alleviated if she was actually looking for a cure to this, a vaccine to this disease. But that isn't her goal of finding a cure for this. So what the hell is Takano's actual goal, besides becoming a god, in her own words?
村から出るだけで発病するかもしれない病気など、村人にとってどれほど危険なものかわかるだろ。繰り返しになるが、昨今反ダム戦争で村全体が強い興奮状態にあって、ひなみ沢症候群にとって非常に良くない状態にあるらしい。
もし村人がおかしくなって大変なことをしたら、きっとマスコミがパシャパシャでいっぱいなのです。
そうだ。
That's why they cover it up.
そうなったからでは手遅れなのだ。
そんな、いきなり言われても信用できませんわ。本当に相手は国の人？変な詐欺に騙されてるんじゃないですか？
信用できんのも無理はない。先方は研究所はいつでも見に来ていいと言っている。私はもう見せてもらっているが、あれは詐欺とかそういうレベルではない。ゴグラの大病院でもあんな大掛かりな設備はないぞ。お前も私の話に納得できないなら、研究所で詳しい話を聞かせてもらうといい。私よりもっと詳しく説明してくれるだろう。向こうは研究所の説明でも納得できないなら、東京の国立研究所で説明してもいいし、厚生省の本庁舎で直接説明してもいいと言っている。
でも信じる信じないは別にして、それが私たちにどういう関係があるんです？
古出家は代々お社様の血を受け継ぐと言われている。そして8代続いて女子が生まれれば、その8代目はお社様の生まれ変わりであるとも。
そうですわ。私が7代目、理科が8代目。でもそれとその病気に何の関係があるというんです？
このひなみ沢症候群という病気はある種の寄生虫によるらしい。虫といってもものすごく小さい。人の目には決して見えんくらいに。その虫たちには親分格がいるというのだ。
まさかそれがフルデ家だとおっしゃるんですか？
その親分格の寄生虫は代々フルデ家の直系だけに受け継がれるらしい。つまり先代はお前、今は理科だ。
バカバカしい。そんな話やっぱりおかしいですわ。大体ですね、寄生虫なんてそんな気持ち悪いもの。
だから落ち着きなさい。私では説明が下手だ。専門の人に説明を受けなさい。 そして彼らが言うには、この病気の治療を研究するためには親分格の研究が不可欠だというのだ。
嫌です。そんな怪しげな研究まっぴらごめんですし、理科だってそんな研究には関わらせません。
だから落ち着きなさいというのに。彼らの研究では、ひなみ沢症候群は村から離れると発病するのではなく、親分格から離れると発病するということらしいのだ。お前も小さかった頃、村人から陣痛力があると言われていたことがあるだろう。遠方に出かけ片頭痛などにかかったお年寄りがお前に払ってもらうとたちまち頭痛が消えたという陣痛力、それこそが親分格の証拠でもあるというのだ。フルデの血には発病者を救う力がある。それを研究するのは治療薬を見つけるためにもとても重要なことなのだそうだ。
僕を研究すると村のみんなが助かるのですか？
先方はそう言っている。
その病気は村の全員がかかっているのですか？僕もみんなもさとこも。
うん。村に住む人間全員だけでなく、沖宮に住む親類なども全て含むそうだ。多分何千人という規模になるだろう。それだけの大変な病気だから、厚生省がわざわざたくさんの予算を投じて専門の研究所を作ってくれたのだ。
私は反対です。理科をそんな怪しげな研究の生贄にするだなんて。
僕はいいのですよ。僕が生贄でさとこが助かるなら全然平気なのです。
理科は黙っていなさい。とにかく絶対反対です。あなたにそんな妙なことを吹き込んだ人たちには私が直接会ってはっきりとお断りをします。理科を変な実験で殺されてたまるものですか？だいたい理科はフルデ家のたった一人の跡継ぎなんですよ。もしものことがあればフルデの血はここで絶えてしまうかもしれないじゃないですか。あなたはもっとですね、フルデの家のことを考えていただかないと。そんなだから村の人たちに日和見主義とかなんとか言われて。
Opportunist, huh? Opportunist and because mother's suspicion.
だいたいおかしいじゃないですか。建設省は村をダムに沈める。厚生省は村の病気を治す。何が何だかさっぱりわからないです。
厚生省はこの病気は環境の変化で大変発病しやすいと警告していて、建設省に対しダム計画を中止するよう働きかけてくれているそうだ。だからお前も研究所を見せてもらいなさい。あれだけの大設備をダム湖に沈むかもしれない土地に建てるわけがない。
Rika let out a big yawn. It was long past bedtime for a little girl like her.
僕はもう寝ますです。父さん、僕はいつでも協力するとその人たちに言っておいてくださいなのです。
And we got the permission from the queen. Or participate.
リカ、そんなことお母さんに断りなく勝手に決めちゃいけません。リカ、待ちなさい。リカ。
Poor Rika's mother. I mean, just throwing all this information out all at once. Your husband telling you the entire religion is the disease, while your daughter is willing to participate in some fucked up human experimentation. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. Okay. So we got the queen carrier must be participate marked as an opportunist, and I'm also going to mark down the, because that was 100% the Shinto priest that contacted the Irie Institute. That has to be it. There's no other way. Because we know for a fact that Rika's father was a Shinto priest. Okay, here we go. Detailed test result. Okay, Irie's motive to become a doctor. Suspicion is required. Okay, we can do this one. Research is going well.
フルデさん、お待たせしました。今、最後の検査を終えたところです。もうすぐ戻ってくると思います。
娘が村のために役に立てばいいのですが。
Probably the next day, actually.
とんでもない。リカさんの協力は村を救うことにもなります。おかげでようやく治療方法にも目処がついてきたところです。仕組みはまだ調べているところですが、リカさんの存在がやはり村人にとってとても大切なものであることが分かってきました。レベルの進んでしまった一般感染者は自力ではそのレベルを下げて症状を安定させるのが非常に困難です。ですが女王感染者に接近することで脳内にある種の物質が作られることが分かっています。その物質には鎮静効果があり、また進んでしまった症状のレベルを抑え回復させる力もあるようなのです。この物質を処方できるようになれば治療の強力な決め手となるでしょう。
It's probably the C107 treatment.
そうですか。
We've heard about.
理科にそのような力が。
At least that substance is a part of it.
驚かれるには値しないのでは。フルデの巫女には荒れた心、鬼を鎮める神通力があると代々伝えられているんではありませんでしたっけ。私たちが解明しなくても村の数百年にわたる歴史はすでにそれを知っていたわけですわ。
そうですね。大昔の方の聡明さは時に現代医学から見ても感心させられます。
検査が終わったのです。
リカ、大変だったな。疲れただろ。これで自動販売機でジュースを買ってきなさい。
血をいっぱい抜かれたから補給なのです。
Rika took the 100 yen coin that was offered to her and ran out into the hallway.
本当にリカさんの協力のおかげです。彼女が献身的に協力に応じてくれなければこれほどまでに研究が進むことはありませんでした。
You know what I'm going to guess is that Irie is able to convince Takano not to dissect Sadako because they have Rika, who is close friends with Sadako.
リカは自分の友達もその病気にかかっているということを気にしていて、友達のためにも協力したいと常に言っていました。どうか先生方、リカの心意気を汲んでやってください。
もちろんです。毎週日曜日に貴重な時間を割いていただいているのです。必ずや成果にしてみせます。今後もリカさんに過酷な実験を強いることがあると思いますが、どうかお許しいただければと思います。
彼女に危害を加えることは絶対にありませんわ。彼女はとてもとても大切な身なのです。
Yeah, of course you can say that, Takano, huh?
何しろお社様の生まれ変わりなんですから。
大昔の村人はどのようにしてこの病気のことを知り、フルデ家にその女王の血が流れていることを知ったのやら。ご先祖様たちにはつくづく頭が下がります。
それで実はまた辛いご協力をお願いしなくてはなりません。彼女の脳脊髄液の採取の
Bingo.
ご許可をいただきたいのです。
Thank God that's such a unique word that you could just spot it right away. Fucking spinal fluid. Ugh. It's fucking tongue twister, the damn medical words. Oh, he's got to be so fucking big and complicated.
また場合によっては彼女の頭蓋に閃光を当け直接頭部の中を検査させていただくことになるかもしれません。
頭蓋骨に穴ですか？
もちろん安全性には最大限注意します。リカさんはたった一人しかいない女王感染者なのです。間違っても危害を加えることがないよう私どもで最も安全な方法を模索した上で提案させていただいています。
Yeah, maybe yours, Irie, but the bitch next to you.
もちろんリカちゃんは女の子ですもの。頭部先行周辺の頭髪には気を使いますので丸坊主にしてしまうようなことはありません。ただ経過を慎重に見るためにしばらく入院をしてもらうことになりますが。
もちろんその間面会謝絶ということはありません。検査にもぜひ立ち会ってください。お父さんが身近におられた方がリカさんも安心するでしょう。
その検査はどうしても必要なもので絶対に安全なものなのですか？
脳脊髄液の採取も頭蓋の潜光もどちらも 100% の安全を保証することはできません。常に 1% の危険があります。またリカさんに身体的あるいは精神的苦痛を与えるでしょう。いくら重要な検査といえどもご家族の同意なしには行えません。
リカちゃんには実はもう同じ話をしていますわ。
リカはなんと？
自分は構わないと、それはもうあっけらかんと。
リカさんには危険や苦痛が伴う可能性があることをもちろん十分に説明しています。
Well, when you've been through the same life over 500 times, yeah.
ですがやはり保護者の方の承諾をいただかないわけにはいきません。
Yeah, this is the one timeline where Rika actually does that to these fucking experiments. So it's like, well, shit. Gotta do it again.
リカは自分のことを本当にお社様の生まれ変わりだと信じている時があります。だから村人のために自分の身を捧げるのが自分の義務だと思っているところがあるのかもしれません。
立派なお子さんだと思います。
一応家内とも相談させてください。納得はしてくれているのですが、やはりことがことなので話をしないわけにもいかない。
ええ、ご家族の同意は不可欠だと思います。よくご相談なさってください。
その検査は病気の根絶のために重要な意味があるのですね。
はい。ひなみ沢症候群のベールを剥ぐ決定的なものになるでしょう。
決定的なものの第一歩にですわね。
すでにご説明しておりますように、女王感染者に万一のことがあった場合、感染コミュニティに致命的な崩壊をもたらす危険性が予見されています。平たく申し上げると、村人全員が突如として末期発症を起こす可能性もあるということです。
ええ、急性発症の平均から見て女王感染者死亡から48時間以内に全感染者が末期発症を起こします。それだけは絶対に防がなくてはなりません。
リカが死ぬようなことがあれば村中が大パニックに陥って恐ろしいことに。
はい、それを防ぐのも私たちの役目です。そのために危険を冒さなければならないのはとても皮肉なことですが、根絶のためには避けて通れない道だと思っています。
入江先生、 必ずその検査を成功させていただけますか？
ですから医学には 100% や絶対などという。
ええ。
Irie answered with a nod, interrupting Takano's vague response.
私入江京介が命を懸けて必ずやリカさんを救います。村人も救います。絶対にです。
わかりました。家内と相談させてください。その上で後日改めてお返事させていただきます。
はい、よろしくお願いいたします。
After Rika and her father left, Takano started to laugh.
どうしましたか？何か愉快なことでも。
いえいえ、患者とご家族から律儀に事前承諾を取られていたのがなんだかおかしくって。
リカさんには本来無用の苦痛を強いています。それくらいは最低限の礼儀だと思いまして。去年の男も正常な状態にあれば事前承諾を取りたかったところです。
I feel like this whole thing really does show, like the best statement I can say about Irie's entire character is that he's a good man who does terrible things for the sake of progress. You know, like a lot of researchers and scientists throughout history. Like, for example, Oppenheimer, since, you know, movie's relatively coming out soon, you know, who developed the nuclear bomb. I don't know the whole story about Oppenheimer, but he probably did that for the sake of progress, and well, it made the most destructive weapon we've ever conceived as humanity. But, you know, the life of a researcher is something. You know, and Irie pretty much represents that. And plus, this whole thing really does show, like, Irie's true character of, like, trying to get consent from both Rika and her father. Because he still has his morality. He still wants to be a human being. Where in reality, they could just fucking kidnap him and, you know, experiment on them without any permission. They have the power to do that. But Irie still wants to be a good person. He wants all these sacrifices to mean something, you know, to save these people. He truly wants to save these people. He wants to get rid of this horrible disease, these poor victims of Himizawa because of this damn syndrome.
入江所長はここの研究を始められてからずっと罪の意識に苛まれているのではありません？
それはどういう意味ですか？
This type of teasing was normal from Takano, but maybe she had gone a little too far. Irie made it clear how displeased he was to hear that.
南沢症候群の研究は生きた人間を研究対象とすることでのみ進められる。それが分かってなお、あなたはこの研究を進めることに罪の意識を感じている。
罪の意識は必要です。殺人であれ解剖であれ、相手に死を強いる点で変わりません。私たちはその罪を受け止めてなお、その死を無駄にしないために最大限の努力と研究を重ねなくてはなりません。
ご高説ですわね。では入江所長、あなたはこれまで間違いなく非合法とされる実験を行う際、何度の事前承諾を取られたというんですの？
Irie didn't think Takano knew about that.
あなたの人の罪は脳の疾患によるものという独りよがりで、一体何人の患者が事前承諾なくあなたの研究対象とされてきたのかしら？ 常識は時代で変わる。当時は医者が治療をいちいち説明することなどなかったし、事前承諾なんて大したものではなかった。だから当時のことは気にしなくていいんじゃないですかしら。今は倫理上問題があっても当時は問題なかった。ならばいいじゃありませんの。でもそれに罪を感じているからリカちゃんやあの男にさえも事前承諾が取りたかった。
それは誤解です。そもそも治療と解剖では患者。
ねえ坊や、あなたが欲しいのは事前承諾という名の免罪符。そうでしょ。あなたが欲しいのは過去の罪をあがないたいという心を満たすだけの欺瞞、そのためだけの免罪符。後悔しているならば二度と脳に関わらなければいい。なのにだらだらと後悔しながらあなたはいつまでも未練がましくこの世界で脳に関わっている。その罪の意識が本物ならあなたはあの時所長就任の話を断ればよかったはず。そうでしょう、坊や。
You bitch talking now.
とても深いです。私は失礼させていただきます。
聞きなさい。医学は常にその時代の倫理や価値観との戦いから勝ち取られる。かつて高野先生がひなみ沢症候群の存在を予見した時、その時代の権威たちは自分たちの無知を棚に上げ、その先見性を嘲笑った。でも病に倒れる直前まで研究を捨てなかったわ。必ず自分がいつか評価される日が来ると信じて、そしてその日に自分の死後であったとしても必ず来ると信じて。それは強い信念と揺らぎのない鉄の意志があるから成し遂げられること。そうでなければ時代の無理解に高野先生は屈していたはず。研究はね、意志の力で成し遂げるのよ。絶対的に強固な意志だけが結果を紡ぎ出す。でもあなたにはそれがない。あなたは自分の実績を誇るべきか恥じるべきかすら自分で決めかねている臆病者よ。そんな中途半端な覚悟でよくこのような研究所の所長を引き受けられたものね。血塗られた両手をさらに血に浸すことでしか明かせぬ研究だと最初から分かっていたはずなのに。
否定はしません。私は中途半端かもしれない。
ならば所長を辞任なさっては。守秘義務は残るでしょうけど、あなたはこれ以上罪の意識に苛まれなくて済むでしょう。私にとってあなたはパートナーである以前にクライアントが要求した人事上の駒でしかない。こうして研究機関が成立した今、あなたの存在はもう重要ではないの。しかもその上、研究に対する覚悟が足りず、研究のパートナーとしても役立たずなら、あなたは無能のような死を。私は一人でも研究をやめない。どんな罪も後悔も恐れない。強固な意志だけが未来を紡ぐ。かつて高野先生が高潔な精神で成し遂げたように。
立派な決意だと思います。ですが私もあなたに及ばないにしてもわずかの決意があってここへ来ています。そしてあなたの言う通り、私の手はすでに血にまみれています。そしてひなみ沢に来てさらに血に浸しました。だからその責任を全うするまでは私は逃げることはできません。 相変わらず私は罪を清算できず苛まれ続けるでしょう。でも逃げない。必ずひなみ沢症候群の研究を決着させます。それだけがこの研究に命を捧げてくださった方、そしてこれから捧げることになるかもしれない方への最後の誠意だと思っています。
Irie wore a determined look on his face. He appeared different from even a moment before when he was baffled by Takano having brought up those painful memories. For a short while, Irie's eyes displayed his strong will, and then he turned around.
おそらくリカさんの検査は承諾が取れるでしょう。準備をお願いします。
ええ、心得ましたわ、所長。
They got their consent the following week. Wow, it's very interesting. So this really does show the difference between Takano and Irie. The difference between Irie and Takano is that Irie wants to get to the bottom of this, but at the same time, he wants the deaths he's going to cause. All the horrible shit he's going to cause means something. Well, with Takano, she doesn't care about the other people. She doesn't care about the residents of Himizawa. She only sees them as mere puppets, as mere test subjects to be examined. She doesn't give a shit about them. While with Irie, he's doing this so he can save them. With Takano, she just wants to experiment on them and prove that her grandfather, Hifumi, was right in his research. She wants to prove it to everyone, to the government, to the world, that he was right. And because they didn't listen to him, that she causes the disaster in Himizawa. So she can get her revenge, sort of, on the world for refusing to look at Hifumi's research, for disregarding him as a person and as a researcher. Very cool. Very cool. That was a great scene. That was a really cool scene. Okay. So was there anything else besides the fluid? I don't think there was. No. Okay. Alright, well, let's go to the fluid then. Should be here. Routine inspection. The lights came on in the meeting room as the slideshow ended, and all the auteurs began to applaud, praising the Irie institution's dramatic accomplishments. Otters.
素晴らしい。実に素晴らしい。本音を言わせてもらえば、私はこのひなみ沢症候群の研究はあまり期待していませんでした。
仮に進むとしても、10年単位で3歩進んで2歩下がるような研究になると思っていました。
いやいや、それが短期間の間にこれだけの成果を上げられるとは。入江所長の努力と指導の賜物です。
そんなことはありません。私を支えてくださる優秀なスタッフとそちらの高野さんのおかげです。
And Takano-san.
ご謙遜を。やはり脳に関しては入江所長は天才ですわ。何しろ脳に関しては誰も及ばない実績をお持ちなのですから。
そうですな。あなたと同じ年の医者であなたほど大勢の脳みそをご覧になってきた方はおりますまい。
おめでとうございます、入江にさ。私もこれで東京に胸を張って報告に帰れます。
富武さんに良いお土産が持たせられて光栄です。あと、ニサというのはご勘弁を。どうしても馴染めませんので。 というかリサさんって聞こえるんですよね。
まるで女性の名前みたいに聞こえますね。
でも二郎さんも影の立役者ですわね。なかなか成果の出せない私たちの予算を二郎さんが懸命に努力して維持してくださったおかげですわ。
いやでも今回の成果は劇的です。ひなみ沢症候群の病原体を特定し、今後の研究計画に具体的道筋をつけることができました。以後の進捗監査がとても楽しみになります。
これだけの成果があれば東京はねちっこく予算を削減しろとは言いますまい。
何しろ皆さんにお出ししている缶コーヒーの予算まで削られそうになったんですものね。
富武君、東京にしっかり報告して祝杯が挙げられるくらいの予算はつけるよう愚信してあげなさい。
無知ばっかりではいかんね。飴もないとね。
その飴は予算で還元していただけると一番嬉しいのですが。
And with that conjugal atmosphere, that's how I say it, a routine audit was over. Irie was surrounded and being questioned by National Institute of Infectious Diseases workers who had joined the auditors.
高野さん、おめでとう。みんなの前では言えないけれど、今日の成果は全て高野さんの積み重ねによるものだよ。
ありがとう、二郎さん。
Jiro-san and I are the only ones here who know that strings are pulled in order to create the Irie Institute. So only Jiro-san can understand what I had to go through.
でもこれでようやく研究の舞台に立てたというところね。私の挑むべき相手がようやく同じ土俵に上がってくれただけ。正念場はこれからよ。そしてここからが最も楽しいところになりそうだけど。
それでね、今回の件で中川本部長の方からぜひ東京で報告会をしてほしいと伝言をことづかってるんだ。アルファベットの理事会もぜひ君と会合を設けたいって言ってたよ。みんな君に直接話を聞いてみたいようだね。
あらあら、二郎さんを経由した報告じゃ物足りないのかしら。
いやそういう意味じゃないとは思うけどな。きっと噂の美人研究員を直接見てみたいんじゃないかななんて。
あら嫌だ、二郎さんったら。
失礼します。高野さんさ、東京からお電話です。
お待たせしました。高野です。
おお、元気にやってるかの。
Kazume.
小泉先生、わざわざお電話をいただけるなんてとても恐縮でございます。
いやな、みおちゃんの研究が大金星を挙げたという話が来てな、お祝いを言おうと思って電話したんだ。
ありがとうございます。はい、おかげさまで研究の第一段階であり最大の目標でもあったひなみ沢症候群の病原体特定に成功しました。
そうかそうか、ついにやったな、みおちゃん。天国で高野くんもきっと大喜びしているだろうの。
まだまだですわ。祖父は ひなみ沢症候群の病原体特定などという段階を超えて研究していました。人の思想や意志が実は人以外の寄生的存在によって支配されていた可能性、それを暴いて初めて祖父の研究は偉業と称えられるのです。
Okay. I think with that simple sentence, I think I figured out why she does cause the Hinazawa disaster. Is because if the syndrome is cured, that's it. There's no more of it. Sure, they could research into it. But once it's cured, it'll just be treated like any other, disease that's been cured. But if it isn't cured, if it's set upon the world, and people find out that it's parasites that control people's thoughts and are able to, it's parasites that are able to control humans, then Hifumi's research about how ideologies, progress, how we went from, Neanderthals to Homo sapiens, or probably got that wrong, but whatever, of why we do the things we do. It's because of parasites. And the only way to prove that is to show the world the parasites itself. Not for it to be covered up by the government. Because it's going to get out. Even though the government does try to cover it up, as we see multiple times after the Hinazawa disaster. It still, gets out. It still causes a panic in Japan, which will start people asking questions, and they will eventually find out it's parasites within the brain, which will prove Hifumi's hypothesis of parasites controlling us. I think that's the reason why Takano's doing it. She's doing this other research just to see what it is so she can understand it, and so she can unleash it upon the world. I think that's what it is. That's what I think, at least.
世界中の思想や宗教が全て寄生虫で説明できたなら世界はひっくり返るくらいの大騒ぎになるでしょうね。
それは愉快だの。偉そうに振る舞っとる宗教家連中が単なる寄生虫の親玉に過ぎんと立証されたら、それは本当に愉快だろうの。ぜひそんな愉快なのを見せてくれ。みおちゃんがそれを見せてくれるまで、私は天国のお迎えを断り続けてるからな。
縁起でもありませんわ。でも楽しみにしていてくださいね。きっと世界中があっと驚く発表をしてみせますから。その時に初めて世界中が祖父の偉業を知り、祖父が残した資料を奪い合って読み合うことになるでしょう。そこまで至って私はようやく祖父への恩返しを終えるのです。
Yep.
高野くんが羨ましいの。私はな、金なんかこんなにいらんかった。この半分は捨ててもいい。あんたみたいな自分の志を継いでくれる孫が一人いてくれたらと思うよ。
ありがとうございます。身に余るお言葉です。
あとな、小泉のおじいちゃんからのプレゼントだ。みおちゃん宛てにな、祝杯用のワインを一本送らせた。
A bottle of wine, you say? Where is it? Where is it? I know, I wrote down wine somewhere. Where was it? A bottle of wine for a toast.
みおちゃんの家の住所がわからんかったから診療所宛てにしてある。取り寄せに手間がかかってるらしいからちょっと時間がかかるかもしれんが、届いたらみおちゃんの研究を手伝ってくれた人たちを集めてそれを振る舞ってあげなさい。
祝杯用にワインなんて。はてさて、小泉先生からどんな高級ワインが届くやら。
そんな高級酒と違う。 みおちゃんも覚えとらんかね。高野くんがいつも一本のワインを大切にしておったの。
I remember. That's right. My grandfather kept a certain bottle of wine. I don't know if he bought it himself or if someone gave it to him, but he treasured it, and he always said he opened it when his research finally gained recognition. I was a child then, so I don't even remember what brand it was, but Mr. Kazumi would know. He went through all the trouble to find the same bottle of wine for this special occasion. For the first time in a while, Takano felt the same sunny warmth she experienced during her time with her grandfather.
ありがとうございます。小泉のおじいちゃん。
Oh, can't say that. You can't say that. Don't make me feel fucking... God damn it.
やっぱりみおちゃんにはそう呼ばれた方がしっくりくるの。どうもみおちゃんに先生と言われても自分のことだと思えなくてな。
I can't help but smile along with him, because I think Tomoki and Irie were just having a similar exchange.
そう呼ばれる方がお好きでしたら、人前以外ではそう呼んでも結構ですわよ。
できれば人前でもそう呼んでもらえると喜ぶんだがの。
I don't know exactly how old he is, but if he can laugh so energetically, he'll live for many more years to come. I guess the saying about living a long life is true after all.
私も高野くんもみおちゃんのような子が本当の家族だったらと思うよ。本当にな。
My grandfather had his own family, of course. But because he was so into his research, he became estranged from his wife. They were legally married, but they lived separately. I never met his family when I was a child. I only met them after my grandfather committed suicide. Oh, shit, he did. During his latter years, my grandfather went into psychological despair and began to look at his wife with cynicism. His condition became worse over time, and he was shocked at his own dementia. He was afraid of living while his consciousness degraded. Fuck, dementia, man. So he jumped off the roof of the hospital. Only my name was in his suicide note. None of his family members' names were in it. That's when all his relatives showed up and took everything my grandfather left behind. They were afraid I was going to get his estate. They had warriors and all that, so I backed down. I asked for everything in the study in return. Those idiots don't understand the value of my grandfather's research. They were actually happy to strike a deal out of court, and they could also get rid of the piles of papers and jars with human organs in them. They never even showed up once when he was still alive, yet, like hyenas, they appeared after his death. I never let them put their hands all over my grandfather's research. Fortunately, I was able to protect my grandfather's soul from their tainted hands.
それでは長くなると悪いからこれで切るな。困ったことがあったらいつでもおじいちゃんに頼りなさい。孫娘のためにいくらでも一肌脱ぐからの。
ありがとう。小泉のおじいちゃん、ミオはもっともっと頑張りますね。
You can't do this to me, game. You can't make me care about her. God damn it. Fuck. This game is so fucking good at making me care for these characters, for nearly all of them, and understand where they're coming from. Son of a bitch. God damn it. Oh, this fucking game is so good. This story is so good. Oh my god. God damn it. This fucking game, man. Okay. Okay. Oh my god. Oh, god damn it. God damn you. God damn you. Okay. I think we can do the Depression of a Shinto Priest. Yep. It's probably about Riko's dad. God damn, this damn story is so great at making us actually care for nearly all of these... No, all of these characters. Why am I saying nearly all the characters? The gathering place inside of the Furude Shrine is in fact the headquarters of the Onakafuchi Guardians. Normally, a shrine should be a calm and quiet place, but there are anti-dam signs everywhere, making it very obvious that what this location has become. There are over 30 members of the Guardians here at the moment, and they are having a heated conversation about their plans for the future. Although this meeting place is on the Furude family's property, its community facility so closes at 9 p.m. Of course, sometimes the discussion gets so heated that it goes on past closing time, but meetings are supposed to end by 9. If the discussion ends early, they usually chit-chat until that time. That's what usually happens. Of course, they mostly talk about the dam even when they chit-chat. They talk about someone's mistreatment at the government office, or someone getting arrested unjustly, or complain that people at the dam construction site are too violent. Since it's idle chatter, topics are slightly emotional, and because of that, there was a good deal of bad-mouthing the Hojos.
そしたらさ、回覧板捨てちゃったとか言い出すんだよ。普通に考えてそんなことするかね。あそこの奥さんはさ、ちょっと勝ち気が過ぎて攻撃的なんだよ。この間もさ、ゴミ置き場で牧野さんとこのばあさんとすんげえ口論してて。だいたいなんていうかね、本当に粗暴だよね、あそこのご主人は。理性がないというか。ああ。お前さんは地元説明会の時を見てないのかい？
Okay, Saka's parents.
ありゃすごかったよ。なあ。あそこまで言うからにゃ、もう村にはおれんよ。さっさと出てけばいいのにさ。金がもらえないのどうのこうの。あさましいったらありゃしないね。いや理性のなさで言ったら。あそこの奥さんも相当なもんだよ。
それでやっぱり遺伝なのかしらね。あそこのお嬢さん、買い物によく見かけるんで挨拶するんだけど、向こうから挨拶は絶対に返さないのよ。だから私たちバカバカしくなっちゃって、以来見かけても知らないふりしてんだから。
それ言ったらあそこの坊主もいつも暗そうな顔してるよな。
By now, the Hojo family has become the enemy of the whole village. Bad-mouthing the Hojo family was the greatest shared topic that anyone could easily contribute to. If he had known how powerful the three families were, especially the Sonozaki family, and if he had known Oryu-san's character, he wouldn't have said the things he did. The Hojo couple are residents here. Though they were never very enthusiastic about the council activities, they should have known what kind of person Oryu-san is. He could have imagined just what would happen to him if he talked to her that way. Yet he let his anger take over and voice his unpleasant feelings. So most people think the Hojo family brought their isolation upon themselves. If they wanted to negotiate with the government regarding the move, they should have done so privately. Yet he was foolish enough to express himself at a public gathering like that. So not too many sympathize with the Hojo family. Ever since the big fight at the exploratory meeting, the Sonozaki family has looked at the Hojo family as their enemy and started to go after them. That caused the other pro-dam families to go quiet, feeling they'd be made into scapegoats too, and those who wanted to leave were bitterly forced to give up. Even those people started criticizing the Hojo couple, saying they could have gotten their compensation to leave if the two hadn't picked that reckless fight. Both the anti-dam and pro-dam people hate the Hojos now, and the family has become even more isolated. Moreover, the Hojos are both very aggressive, should have stayed quiet at least until things settled down, but they didn't. It alienated the handful of people who took pity on them as well, so now nobody even says anything to them. All of that was immediately obvious by listening to the foul talk here and there at the gathering place. Rika always helps out by putting the teacups away, so I'm sure she hears what they say as well. One of the Hoijo family members, they're bad mouthing is Rika's friend, Sadako-chan. It hurts to think about what Rika feels while hearing that. As priest of the Furude Shrine, should I let this continue? Hoshiro-sama is a god who makes peace between enemies. When the humans and demons fought, Hoshiro-sama descended from heaven and mediated between both sides. As the caretaker of the shrine, I must do something before it goes too far. I'm sitting next to Roryu-san, who's spitefully disparaging the Hoijo family. Elderly people cheer her on as they listen to her speak. If I barge in now, I have a feeling it won't be a peaceful conversation. But I have to make up my mind. As a priest of the Furude Shrine, also for the sake of Rika's friend Sadako-chan.
Oryo-san, Hojo-sanの悪口を言うのはそろそろこれくらいにしませんかね。
なんね、何倍よりおるんかいな。
いや、北条さんもそんな悪気はなかったと思うんだが、あまりいつまでも尾を引くのはかわいそうだと。
しゃらしいね。おめあれを聞いちゃどんなすったらんわんとね。なあ、しゃらしい。ああ、しゃらしいしゃらしい。
Oryu-san is the head of the Sonozaki family, the heir to the demons. She never forgives anyone who stands against her, so there's no way she would even listen to what I'm trying to say. Oryu-san and the others became furious and refused to listen to me. I also mentioned that the damn construction plan will be cancelled soon, so they should calm down already. I said that because the staff at the Irie clinic told me that the government is putting some kind of pressure on the Ministry of Construction. But thinking that I'm being an opportunist, soon criticism of me began to circulate the room. After that, I realized I've become branded as a fence-sitter. If the demons are willing to listen, then there's a chance to make peace. But how can I make peace with people who refuse to listen? I destroyed the mood, so I just have to give up and shut my mouth. Then I felt a little hand on my back.
いいかか。もう遅い時間だから家に戻っていなさい。
私たちがいくら努力しても届かない。
Rika looked into the distance while she spoke.
このよどみ切った村の悪兵は、そのよどみに住まう私たちにはどうしようもないのかもしれない。でも希望をなくすものか。今にきっとこいつらを打ち破ってくれる人がやってくる。今にきっと。
Her eyes shone as if seeing the future that only the maiden of the Furude Shrine could see. Catchy. And Rika's dad trying to calm them down, but still furious, still the anger, the dam hanging over them. He can't let them go on. Okay, so which one was that? Bat Eater's death. Rika's high fever? No. Draft? No. Satoshi, forgiveness. The Ryu family move? No. The tea set on the Vedona being put away. I think that's it. Because it was mentioned, like, there was tea sets that Rika was putting away. because I got nothing else from that. Let's see. Serious stuff. No. Blood capsule. Let's see here. Detailed test result. The discontinuation. Rika's father being marked as an opportunist. We got that. Rika's mother's suspicion. I think we might have gotten that. Just going to go save real quick and see if I'm right. Actually, before I click on that, I'll keep this in mind. But if there's anything else that's more... Oh, we can do this. At a Korean Yaguchi. When researching Himizawa syndrome, there's something very important that needs to be discussed first. If something happens to the Queen Carrier, the village will collapse. In his article, my grandfather called it the most dangerous situation. According to my grandfather, if the Queen Carrier dies, all the infected persons will go terminal within 48 hours. This may sound unbelievable at first, but research on the collapse of past local religions and group suicides around the world should indicate that there's some truth to it. Among all the mysterious incidents around the world, there are some that were caused by parasites controlling entire communities, very similar to Himizawa syndrome. Grandfather picked a few cases that are very similar to the syndrome and investigated them. As a result, he confirmed multiple cases of entire communities losing their minds after the death of a religious leader or founder, and finally annihilating themselves. He stated that, on average, it happened within 48 hours. It's clear that infected people are affected by the Queen Carrier, and the condition of the Queen Carrier is in fact affecting the entire village. Our statistics already proved that on weeks Rika felt sick and visited the clinic, we saw an exceptionally high number of visitors. Rika being sick with a simple cold had a massive impact. If something particularly bad happened to her, we'd be facing a serious situation within 48 hours. That's why the Irie Institute has to protect Rika Furude, the Queen Carrier. It's the most important mission of the Himizawa Syndrome research project. She's already agreed to help us in our research, but we have to be very careful not to put her in any danger. Also, we have to protect her from anyone who would try to harm her. Her life is equal to the lives of 2,000 villagers. But what if something bad happens to her by accident? The Irie Institute must prepare for that situation. That's why I worked on the draft of an emergency manual. Gotcha. Emergency manual. Here you go. When the Irie Institute was first established, it's a precaution in case the Queen Carrier dies or if infected people show acute symptoms due to the death of the Queen Carrier. This is an emergency procedure which must be followed within 48 hours of the mass occurrence of the acute symptoms. The final measure is to prevent the damage from spreading to nearby areas. The plan uses gas, making it look like a natural disaster. My client, the Alphabet Project, took the responsibility of working out the details of the plan. They are used to dealing with things like nuclear and biological weapons, so they ended up being such a big help. There's no way I could have come up with a plan on my own to execute 2,000 villagers. Through a dummy company, the Ground SDF has secured a closed quarry in the Yaguchi region, upstream of Himizawa. It's to be the secret storage base for the equipment we'd use in that operation. Equipment that sprays deadly gas that kills people as if they were falling asleep is stored there. In the case of an emergency, a special unit of the Ground SDF is to use this equipment to destroy the village. However, preparing for the execution of the villagers itself is politically dangerous. So if I'm going to insist on them getting the equipment ready, I have to make them understand how dangerous Himizawa syndrome is, and also how urgent the need is to have a contingency plan. I have to prove the need for the plan by showing them enough data. So the files my grandfather kept intact come in quite handy. When the clients read my grandfather's articles about the syndrome, they were surprised to see how catastrophic things could be in the worst case scenario.
つまり女王である一人の少女に何かがあれば村人2000人以上が全員錯乱するということなのですね。
はい。 ひなみ沢症候群に極めて類似するいくつかのケースでは集団自殺を示すものが少なくありませんが、ひなみ沢症候群の場合、強い疑心暗鬼や過剰なまでの危機意識から何かの過剰防衛を行う可能性があり、被害は感染者2000人にとどまらないものと推定されます。それらは無政府状態の暴動から始まり、猟奇的なあるいは宗教的終末感にも似た異常な状況を作り出すでしょう。これに対する事前の鎮圧策を用意しなかった場合、世界の注目を浴びることは避けられません。またその猶予は事態発生から48時間しかありません。
つまりいざことが起こったらもう誰にも防げないということですな。
感染者全員を48時間以内に全員治療することは不可能なのかね。
無理だろう。それに治療方法すら確立していないし、研究所の規模では村人全員の救済は物理的に不可能だ。
しかしこのような恐ろしく珍しい病気があるとは世の中わからんもんですな。
常に最悪の事態に備えることは国防にも通じますし、我々アルファベットプロジェクトの理念でもあります。そして使うことが目的なのではなく、備えることそのものが肝要なのです。
確かにおっしゃる通りですな。運用規定については決済区分の強化などまだ検討したいところはありますが、最悪の事態に対応する準備が必要だということは理解できました。
都市沈黙船の研究班にひなみ沢地区沈黙船のシミュレーションをさせましょう。これは至急行われる必要があると思います。
こうしている間にも女王感染者の少女が車にはねられて死んでしまう可能性だってあるのですから。高野さんさ、ありがとう。また質問しますので着席してくださって結構です。
Thanks to a push from one of my backers, things were decided without too much of a problem. It took me almost all day to explain it to them, but it only took a short time to come to a decision. Nobody criticized, ridiculed, or tried to reject my grandfather's articles out of hand. And the files they're all reading today are the very same shameful articles those haughty authorities left their footprints on as they trampled them in my grandfather's heart. But they aren't ridiculing the articles. They're reading what was once rejected. It's nothing big at a glance, but in this moment, my grandfather's research is being recognized for the first time. My heart is filled with satisfaction to see people discussing amongst each other while pointing to my father's files and raising them as proof. I've worked so hard for this day. Grandpa in heaven, can you see this? I think once Kazumi dies, that's what drives Takano to the edge, or actually pushes her over the edge, like at 1,000,000 miles an hour. But yes, okay, so that was the draft. Was there anything else? Think draft an emergency manual. Definitely consume me. Not weak as high fever. Okay. So we got that. So we got another one for this. Tomoki's Promise. Do we have Tomoki's Promise? I don't think we do. I don't think so, at least. Monsieur Stuff, T-Set, a capsule. Okay, let's see here. Sadako Hojo's Irie's decision is required. Oh, Irie's decision must have been in this, right? Like his decision to continue on? I think that, yeah, that must have been Irie's decision of continuing on with the research even though he's already done horrible things. Okay, let me save real quick. Just saving all the time, aren't I? Alright. Sieve 103 dose experiment. There we go. Plans for Sadako-chan's section are moving along. I don't want Satoshi-kun to be sad. I feel pity for Sadako-chan in her harsh circumstances. I'm still struggling with how much I have to sacrifice for the sake of research.
Irie? え？ああ、すみません。うっかりしていました。どうなさいましたか、リカさん。
僕の友達がずっと長く入院していますが、その子はひなみ沢症候群ではないのですか？
それを誰に聞きましたか？
僕がそう思っただけです。どうなのですか、入江。聡子はひなみ沢症候群ではないのですか？
Rika-chan is on our side. There's nothing I have to hide from her. Actually, I probably shouldn't keep anything from her.
はい。両親との不仲と、その両親の突然の死。彼女の心には、それは一度に受け入れるには、あまりに大きすぎる出来事でした。それが引き金になったのかもしれません。
検査の結果は？
レベル5です。上辺は非常に安定して見えますが、情緒は非常に不安定です。先日からサトシ君の見舞いも謝絶にしました。
Fusing. Okay, there we go. We got that. Fuses visit the clinic. There we go.
サトシに聞きましたです。聡子の心の傷がなかなか癒えないと気にしていましたです。入江、聡子はどうなるのですか？
Sadako-chan is Rika's Chan's best friend. How can I tell her that we're planning to dissect Sadako-chan? However, even if I don't say anything, she already knows that Sadako-chan's situation is extremely poor.
入江は僕の体を調べてたくさんのことが分かったのではないですか？
ええ、それはもちろんです。症状を抑える効果が期待される試薬も現在いろいろと試しているところです。
それを聡子に与えることはできませんのですか？
一度は考えました。しかしかなり危険です。体力や精神力に余裕がある検体に試し、少しずつデータを集めていこうという段階です。聡子ちゃんのようなもう後がない人間に試せるような代物ではありません。
では入江、その薬を試さないなら聡子はどうなってしまうのですか？
She spoke as if aware of our plans for Sadako-chan. No, she must actually know. I've told her about most of my research. She's more mature than she looks, so it'd be easy for her to figure it out.
僕は聡子が 1% でも助かる可能性があるならそれにかけるべきだと思いますです。
非常に危険な賭けです。最悪の場合、彼女は即座に末期発症し錯乱するか、さもなければ人としての心を失い、一生を焦点の合わない目で壁を見て過ごす体になってしまうかもしれない。どちらもそれはあまりに過酷な運命です。
全身麻酔で痛みを感じさせずに眠ったままを殺す方がずっといいというの。入江、よく高野が言う通り医学に 100% はない。でもこのまま放置すれば聡子を待ち受ける運命は 100% の絶対の死しかない。ならば どちらにかけるかは明白なはず。
そうですね。その通りです。
But I know too well. C103. The medicine that's been tested may not even be something that can be used. It may not even have a 1% chance of success. Worse, I can't even imagine what kind of tragic end she'd meet if her body rejects the medicine. That's why I'm tempted to believe it would be far more merciful to feed her favorite food, let her gently fall asleep, and after that, dissect her while she dreams. I don't want to admit it, but Takano-san is right. I'm being indecisive and showing a lack of resolve. How effective could the medicine made by someone like that really be? Just because it was medicine I created myself, I couldn't even believe there might be a 0.1% chance of success.
僕は入江の作った薬なら信用できると思いますです。
She spoke as if she read my mind. Surprised, I raised my head up to look at her, and found her giving me a reassuring look I never would have imagined someone her age capable of.
入江は人の命を左右するとても辛い仕事に耐えている。本来人の生き死になど人間がどうにかしようというのがおこがましいこと。その重圧は背負ったものにしかわからない。
Her voice hasn't changed, but I feel like Rika-chan is admonishing me. Almost as if she knows what it's like to be responsible for human lives.
その重さは罪の意識と後悔の重さを加えて決められる。だから入江はまだまだ危険な薬を聡子に試せない。そうでしょう。
Takano-san said the same thing when she criticized me earlier. I'm being criticized again.
でも、だからあなたになら聡子を託せると思う。
え？
人の命はとても重い。その重みに耐えかねるのは、あなたが人の命を大切にしたい心があるからこそよ。そんな心がなくして、どうして人を病気から救えるというの？高野みたいに人をモルモットとしか思ってないやつの治療薬なんか試せると思う？
I shouldn't have laughed, but I couldn't help it. I felt like I should laugh.
高野とあなたがそれぞれに薬を差し出したなら、私は入江の薬の方が治るように思う。だって薬は人の心から生み出されるんだもの。自分の身から滴り落ちる雫で人を救いたいという気持ちが人の病を癒してくれる。
おっしゃる通りです。医者が薬のことで諭されるとは。
私は自分の体を他でもない聡子のために差し出した。私の体から注射針で抜き出したものは全て私から聡子に捧げる薬の雫。その雫から命の本当の重さを知り、日々後悔と自責を忘れないあなたが何かを抽出してくれたなら、それが聡子に効かないわけがない。
Do shrine maidens take confessions? If they do, she's doing a great job being a shrine maiden at this age.
これは賭けになります。聡子ちゃんが果たして受け入れてくれるかどうか。
聡子に伝える必要はありません。聡子にとってひなみ沢症候群を知ることは心の深い傷をもう一度えぐることにしかならないのだから。
What did she mean by those words? When I realized it later, I was surprised by how thoughtful and perspective she was.
解剖計画を中止させましょう。北条聡子に対する C103 投与実験に変更します。
Stop plans for the dissection. There we go. Where is it?
せめて 1% でもうまくいく確率が上がるように努力します。
大丈夫ですよ、入江。絶対にうまくいきますです。
そんな楽観してはいけません。
大丈夫なのです。もう決まってることなのですから。これはフルデ神社の巫女様の心強いお告げです。ファイトオンなのですよ。
Wow. I think that was the perfect fragment to end this video on. I feel like we got like a full like kind of arc for Irie of how he doubted himself about the things he's done, but at the very end Rika reassures him of like, you care for people, Irie. You truly do. You do horrible things, monstrous things for the sake of people. And it's, I think that's a great fragment to end it on. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed this type of content, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. Like Thomas something, put it down in the comments below. Want to check out Discord server hanging out in, or my Twitter, check description below. And yeah, this has been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time. See ya!